Hello everyone, welcome to the video. The Dorinthea vs Rhino deck has released, and I think Dorinthea has a lot of potential to become a top tier deck for the new players out there. But it does require some upgrades. For the new players out there, like this deck used to be a absolute powerhouse back in the Blitz format a couple of formats ago, but it got a little bit outshined by things like Viserai, which have by now been banned in the Blitz format, so Dorinthea is in a very good spot in general. The deck has a lot of power. It's all about attacking with your weapon, giving it go again, and then attacking in again, and combining that with a lot of ways to giving buffs to your weapon to hit for like massive swings one after the other. It's a bit of an aggro deck for the most part, and it's an absolute blast to play in general. The constructed deck comes with some things like on the Knife's Edge, which can give go again to your weapon easily, and we even got some new cards for the veterans out there, like Run Through, like this one. It gives target sword go again and the next swing +2, which is very good and very similar to Driving Blade, I think it's called in no, it's not Driving Blade, it's Blade Runner in the FFXIV format, except this one works on two-handed weapons as well, especially the Dawn Blade. And we got these two cool new cards. We have a nice Mentor card as well as a Glistening Steel Blade. This one also gives go again to the weapon, and you get a +1 counter for every hit that every swing that hits with the weapon, which is especially useful with all our nice attack reactions in here. So for the most part, the deck, like everything that I got displayed over here and here, it's kind of optimal and kind of good in general to play, which I kind of like. The equipment I'm not really satisfied with, mainly the Iron Rod helmet and the Iron Rod legs. I think those can be replaced in general, and not really the best equipment pieces for a Dorinthea deck. Period. But we have this beautiful call for Dorinthea. I'm not really 100% sure if this one is better than the old Dorinthea. I don't have any lighting straight from the top, unfortunately, so I cannot really show off the call foiling close to the camera. But this one, if your weapon gains go again from any source, you get an additional swing, which is rather useful. Come on, camera, please focus. There we go. So if you gain go again, which we have a lot of, then your weapon can swing an additional time. And this one has a very cool effect, which says that if it's your second time that you attack with this weapon each turn, it gains +1. So straight off the bat, it is a 2 attack, so it's not as strong as the original Dawn Blade, which is kind of making me wonder, like, maybe the original is better. But with this combo, at least you don't have the situation that you need to hit in order to get your second swing. You're guaranteed your second swing as long as you give go again to your weapon, which is very useful. So the Titanium Baubles, Sigil Salves, Toughen Up, Visit the Blacksmith Blues. Even though they are nice blues, I don't think they are optimal for this deck, so I've taken them out. Alpha Blood yellow, Slice and Dice yellow, and Driving Blade yellow as well. And then Trust red, Flock of the Featherwalker, On Guard, and Second Swing. Even though they are all good cards, I think there are some budget alternatives that are simply better in general. So I made a bit of a list over on Card Market, which I will show on the screen right now. I threw these into the, what do you call it, the shopping wizard, and as you can see, like, you can get this whole deck upgraded under $20. So what do we have in terms of upgrades that are on the budget side? So we have Deep Blue, Home Merchant's Hood, a set of Null Rune, the Gloves, Hood and Robe, and the Refraction Bolters. If you have the money, you can get yourself a Courage of Bladehold. I think that's even better than the Deep Blue. The only thing that you need to change here then is that instead of a Null Rune Robe, you can bring yourself a Null Rune Boots instead, because the Courage of Bladehold is just very good. It makes your sword swings free, which is more value than the Deep Blue will ever generate you. And we have these 22 cards down at the bottom here of my list. I will show us on the screen right now. So we have 2 Hit and Run red, which gives go again to your weapon swing, and therefore you get an additional swing, which is very good. Alpha Blood red, 1 single copy of Route, Slice and Dice red ×2. Steelblade Supremacy, very good card. It gives +2 to your weapon, and every time it hits you get to draw a card, so you can get these very massive turns in general. Struggle Foresight, only a single copy. Hit and Run Yellow, also a single copy. Iron Song Determination, a single copy. These are kind of like, you need to have just enough Go Again cards, but not too many of them, so I had to cut a bit of hit and run copies in general. And Iron Song Determination is a very good finisher because it gives Dominate to your weapon and you can go in with a massive swing, kind of blowing your opponent out of the water. Singing Steel Blade, if your opponent blocks with a card, it gives +1 and you get to fetch a reaction straight from the deck. So you can potentially fetch something like the card next to it, the Quicksilver, which gives Go Again to your weapon. And if your opponent blocked with something from hand, you get to draw a card as well. Iron Song Response Blue. This is a flex slot, you can put whatever blue that you like in here. You can even go for the cash out that I mentioned on my channel the other day, but then you do need some legendaries to really make the cash out work in general. Overpower Blue and Steel Blade Shunt, which is basically a better version of the defense reaction that is already in this deck. Potentially you can cut the Iron Song Response in favor of the Toughen Up that already comes in this deck, but if you add these 22 cards to your deck, you're in a very good spot. Once you have this deck upgraded and you've been playing for a bit, you can also look to get your hands on something like a Spoils of War. I will probably take out the 2 copies of Slice and Dice at that point in favor of the Spoils of War. And you want to get yourself something like a Brave Forge Bracers and a Arcanite Skullcap in the long run, because those are just generally very good cards for the warrior deck. They're not necessary to play the deck, but a Skullcap and a Brave Forge Bracers, they kind of represent like 6 extra life, because you can block for 2 with the Skullcap and the Brave Forge Brace, and then later on you can block for an additional 1 with both of them, so that's like a 6 block, which is rather useful. We do have the Gallantry Gold that blocks for 1 in the deck already, so technically upgrading to a Skullcap and a Brave Forge Braces is just an additional +5, I guess. But Brave Forge Bracers does have that very cool effect that costs 1 resource and you can give +1 to your weapon if it has already hit the stun, which kind of makes it that you are constantly threatening the bracers and your opponent has to block that first weapon swing, which they may not really want to do because most of our action happens on our second swing. All in all, I think this deck has a lot of potential. I think the Glistening Steel Blade is going to be a mainstay staple in the Dorinthea deck, period. As well as the Run Through, which we will also get as promo cards during this month's Armory event. I think Run Through is a absolutely magnificent card. As for the Mentor card, well, I think that the Mentor card, even though it's a very nice card, I am not sure if it's worth running 2 copies of. I'm actually not even sure if it's worth running a single copy of. Of course, it's very nice that it gives Go Again to your next weapon swing like twice, and you can fetch the Glistening Steel Blade straight from the deck, which is very good in general. But I don't like the fact about Mentor cards that if you get these into your hand in the late game, it kind of becomes a dead card. In combination with the deep blue that we run in the budget deck, then this card is kind of playable, since you can always just put it to the bottom of your deck in order to get 3 resources for it instead. But I think there's quite a bit of a risk involved with running Mentor cards in general, that's why I'm not a huge fan of them. But if you can get your hands on a second copy of Glistening Steel Blade, I highly recommend to get that instead. Having the guaranteed Go Again is always better than like a what do you call it, like an optional Go Again that your opponent can potentially stop, which is also something that I have a gripe with things like Warrior's Valor. Like, yes, you force your opponent to block quite a bit, but it also becomes rather easy for them to stop your Go Agains in general. So that is my review for the deck. Those are my upgrades. I think if you get these upgrades, you're gonna have a very good time with this deck, and you can always keep on upgrading it to the cards that I mentioned earlier. So all in all, very happy with this. I'm looking forward to play some events with this. If you want me to do a Reiner upgrade guide as well, feel free to reach out. I will gladly make a video like that. Let's say if this video reaches 50 likes, I will do the Reiner video as well. That's all for me for today. Dorinthea, very good deck, very beautiful card as well, and I'm very happy that LSS has made these kind of starter decks for new players out there. Out of the box, it's kind of a decent deck straight away, with some upgrades of course, like I mentioned. Anyways, thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you all soon with the next video.